It's time for The Drive with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Now, here's Q.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is indeed a Man Up Monday edition of The Drive with Q. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. We are coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the SR 1029 FM The Game studios, part of Coastal Sports Network. Mi hermano, Angel Martinez, behind the glass, producing the show, keeping us on the air. As always, we'll take you up to 6 o'clock, straight up, about 60 plus to play with on this 9th of December, 2024. As always, bring something to the table, 727-858-6650. Let your voice be heard on this very busy Monday edition of The Drive on this 9th of December. And I'll tell you, there's a lot to get into. I mean, it was one of those weekends in the world of sports where you've got a lot to talk about. You've got a lot to dissect, to debate, to get into. And we will certainly do that as we typically do. NFL Week 14, we'll put a bow on it tonight. Kind of a snooze fest of a Monday Night Football affair, Cincinnati and Dallas. Yeah, the college football playoffs, the seedings, who's in, who's out. I know a lot of people were up in arms. And then, of course, the big news coming down in baseball today, the Juan Soto sweepstakes. And listen, as a Yankee fan, let me start by saying this. I do not want to hear the Yankee fan on this Monday cry. I don't want to hear the Yankee fan on this Monday whine, complain, bitch, moan, play the freaking Babe in the Woods because the Yankees did not get Juan Soto. Here's a couple things right here. Am I shocked? Am I surprised that Juan Soto signed with the New York Mets? No. Look, the Yankees, Hal Steinbrenner, they took a big swing, right? And they kind of went into this uncomfortable place where they're throwing out potentially 16 years at 760, including 60 million signing bonus. Now, again, you know me. We don't touch another man's coin. We don't go in the pockets. We just don't do that. So whatever or whomever or whatever franchise organization valued Juan Soto at, whether it was going to be the Dodgers, the Mets, or the Yankees, they're paying him. And it happens to be the New York Mets. It happens to be Steve Cohen, who basically said, I'm going to go in for 765 over 15, including 75 signing bonus, which can turn into well over 800 million. I said this on Friday's show. I thought he was going to get 6 to 700 million. And by the way, if the club voids Soto's opt out after the 5th year, that's when it can turn, like I said, to that 805 million. But I get it. The Yankee fan today feels like they are scorned, right? They feel like they have been deserted. I mean, I'm hearing you guys are acting like this. Juan Soto played with the franchise for 15 years. I mean, Juan Soto had a great season, his one and only season with the New York Yankees. It doesn't matter because ultimately Steve Cohen was going to one-up the Yankees. And people need to understand that and get over it. And for the Yankee fan to sit there and whine and cry today, yeah, I get it. Maybe he's not going to put up those type of numbers with no judge behind him, with no short porch. Who's to say he is? Who's to say he's not? I don't know. But this is where we're at in the world of sports, man. It is a business first and foremost. End of the day. Now, does it change the complexion of both franchises? Well, of course, because the Yankees have partial egg on their face. But the Mets now, their franchise, it's a whole new category. It's a whole new category. Are the Yankees worse today without Juan Soto? Yeah, they're not as good. You'd be foolish to think they are. Are the Mets better today with Juan Soto? Absolutely. But that's the price of doing business in the world of sports. Period. Period. There's no really debating this at the end of the day. And it's not about, well, this is you're going to pay him X, Y, and Z. That's not it. Now, the one thing I will say is that maybe it's like this little weight lifting off the shoulders of the Yankees because you're talking about a massive financial commitment to one player. So now you can move the money around. And I'm not saying this is sour grapes, and I don't want someone to say, see, there you go, Q, not even 5 minutes into the show. You're already starting to come up with these little excuses. That's not what I'm saying. But sometimes you don't want to shoulder that burden. You don't want to shoulder that type of contract. You don't. Maybe there's someone in the Yankee brass thinking they dodged a bullet. I don't know. I don't know. He's a great player. He's a franchise player. He's a transcendent player. I get it. He's a fantastic piece to any team. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, are they going to turn around and try to swipe Pete Alonso from the Mets? I don't know. They're going to have a void at first base, right? Because they declined Rizzo's option. Is Bregman going to be a fit? Maybe. But here's where we're at in baseball. And we talked about this last season with Ohtani. I value you, whatever I'm willing to pay you, right? So if I value you at X, Y, and Z, and I pay you an X, Y, and Z, then I basically justified, I've committed to you and said, hey, you're worth this. But for Yankees fans today, look, Met fans, have your moment, man. Be in your glory. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Absolutely. You probably now went from 86 to 87 wins to maybe 97, 98 wins. You still got to contend in a very competitive NL East with the Phillies and, of course, the Braves. Who knows about the Marlins? What's going to happen? Washington, But point being is, you took a swing and the Yankees missed. And the Yankee fan, I can accept it. Some Yankee fans can't accept it because they don't like to take swings and misses. They don't. They don't. But man, I'm telling you, sometimes you lose out on players. It happens. I mean, you look at this potential lineup right now, right? If they keep Alonso, Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Nimmo, you got Marte DH, and you got McNeil second base, Alvarez catching, Taylor in center field, probably Vientos third base. I mean, that's a potent lineup. The Mets now basically have said, we've come to play. We've come to play, and we are going to be a force to be reckoned with. But you can't get all up in arms. You can't. Look, the Dodgers are still the favorite. The Mets, their odds have risen dramatically. I mean, think about this for the Yankees fan. You weren't winning that World Series against the Dodgers. You lost in 5. Could have got swept. And you had some bad losses. But right now, the Dodgers, the Braves, the Mets, the Yanks, the Phillies, the O's, the Astros, they're going to be your top 5, 6, 7 teams. I mean, the Dodgers are going to be plus 380. The Braves are probably going to be plus 750. The Mets will be around 825. The Yanks plus 900. The Phillies probably a plus 950, plus 1,000. So it's telling you what the market thinks, even with the loss of Soto and obviously the addition of Soto for the Mets. But again, all I'm saying is this. Here's the thing. For the Yankee fan today to get so upset and bent out of shape, let me just walk you back for a moment. That franchise has been doing it for 25, 30 years. Wells, Jimmy Key, Moose, Cole, Musina, CC, Dave Winfield, Reggie Jackson, Matsui. So it's like you're getting upset because another franchise who happens to be, quote, your little brother in the same city turns around and they kind of punch you in the mouth. They finally decided we're going to fight back. So like for the Yankee fan to cry today, stop, shut up. Nobody wants to hear it today. The Yankees have been doing that for years. Yankees, 176. We'll come in at 177. 177, we'll come in at 178. 178, we'll come in at 180. I mean, who are you kidding? You can go on and on about all the high-priced free agents they brought in, all the big-time monster moves that they have brought in that have panned out and some haven't panned out. And you're going to sit there today and, we're going to go on, we're going to go on X, or we're going to go on Facebook. We're going to burn jerseys, or we're going to sit there and have bats and we're going to swing at, made up Soto dolls and all this. Stop. You sound like a bunch of freaking clowns. You really do. You sound like a bunch of like little jilted kids. We took your video games away for a week and you're getting punished. Like, go cry to somebody else. Take it to another sandbox. Nobody wants to hear the nonsense anymore. Yankees have been doing it for years. They have been doing it for years. And it was the same thing even with trades. Think about this. Aaron Boone suffers that knee injury. He's playing pickup basketball, sideline him for the entire 2004 season, creates a hole in third base. What do the Yankees do? They trade for Alex Rodriguez. I mean, and then they eventually give him a monster contract. So it's like, stop. Just stop with the nonsense. And again, who knows what he's worth, what he's not worth. And maybe the production's not going to be like we think it's going to be, right? So again, 727-858-6650. We'll get into your thoughts on Soto, the Mets, baseball, the Yanks, swinging and a missing. The NFL. So again, we always talk about the good, the bad, the ugly in the NFL and what we kind of learned. Obviously, we'll talk a little more about this tomorrow. Lloyd Vance on Back Your Play. You can check out Lloyd and myself as we'll kind of recap all the action, including tonight. So on the predictions, the picks, Q's picks on Friday. But a couple things that stood out over the weekend. We told you on Friday, Carolina was going to give Philadelphia a little bit of a scare. And that's exactly what they did. And the Eagles offensively, they've got some issues right now, especially their passing game. We saw Minnesota get a nice win. Sam Darnold reborn. I mean, stick him right there, comeback player of the year. The Pittsburgh Steelers won again. Russ is cooking, right? I mean, we're kind of seeing it right now. These veterans, second act, if you will. The Jets done. The Giants. By the way, for those that, again, Friday told me, Giants, money line, Giants, get the hell out of here with that nonsense. We told you they were not even going to be competitive. That's another comical loss by my Giants on Sunday. You knew it was going to happen. I was actually almost getting upset when they were going for that potential game tying or game winning drive. Instead, they were settling for the game tying field goal, which, oh, by the way, in only Giant fashion, Gano gets it blocked. But this is what we learned. And I want to give credit to my buddy who texted this to me because a lot of people were saying how lucky Kansas City is. Everyone's talking about how lucky the Chiefs are. Look at all these games that they've won, coming from behind, fluky plays, no penalties, no calls. Look at the Cincy game. Look at the Falcons game. Look at the Chargers game. Look at the 49ers game, the Raiders game. Oh, you block a field goal. You miss a field goal. The Panthers game, you get that field goal late. The Raiders as well with the gap. And then last night, I had the Chargers. I told you, I thought the Chargers were going to win outright. They didn't. They had an opportunity to win the game. You can't kick field goals against Kansas City and expect to win. But this is the point that I wanted to bring up, and my buddy brought this up. Kansas City's not lucky. Kansas City's just that good. To kind of paraphrase to what he said. They're just that good. When they have the ball last, it's not luck. It's not. It's just opportunity. It's how great of a team they are. It's how great of a team because no matter what, they have basically told you right now, we can be down 10, we can be down 6, we can be down 17, we can have 2 minutes left, 30 seconds, 1 minute. It doesn't matter. We'll figure out a way to win the game. That's how good Kansas City is. They're beatable. But that's just how great they are at this moment. And then what stood out also yesterday, Josh Allen wrapped up the MVP. But my goodness, what are we doing if you're Sean McDermott? I want to talk a little more about that when we go around the league. I'm not going to say it's a bad loss from Buffalo. I think it just accentuated and highlighted how fantastic and brilliant of a player Josh Allen is. Look, every team in the NFL, you can knock them off. Doesn't matter. Every team in the NFL, you can knock them off. Is Kansas City a juggernaut? No. Is Buffalo a juggernaut? No. Are the Pittsburgh Steelers a juggernaut? No. Are the Lions? No. Are the Eagles? No. The Vikings, the Packers? No. This is a war of attrition right now. This is a war of attrition in the NFL. It's next man up for some of these teams. And who's going to suck it up? And if you can run the friggin' football and get to the quarterback and play defense in January, you best believe you're going to have an opportunity to be the last team standing, hoisting the Lombardi trophy. You got 5 or 6 really good teams. The rest is just mediocre. So we'll dive into that. We'll go around the league as we typically do. We'll open it up on the other side. 5 o'clock, straight up, just cooking on a Man Up Monday. I got a couple picks to man up on, but a Man Up Monday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. We're powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. We know that the seasons always change. We just blew by summer. We just blew by fall. We're in the winter mix, depending upon where you are. If it's cold, you want a little hot cup of Joe, as we like to say, top you off, freshen you up. One for the road. You guys know where we're going with that. Check out the promo code BYP20, 20% off your first purchase of our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. If you were in the diner this weekend and the waitress walked over to you with the short name, Sue, Sally, Midge, Peg, Marge, Mary, and said, top you off, freshen you up, one more to go, you were probably thinking of the Drive with Q as we dissected that on a Football Friday edition. 727-858-6650. We'll get to your comments on the other side. We are just cranking it up on this Man Up Monday edition of The Drive. Don't forget, get social with us at RichQ on Q. And, of course, follow us on social media, X, IG, Facebook. You can capture the show on YouTube as well. And I want to give a quick shout out to my good friends over at Play It Again Sports. They opened that new location in South Jersey, Mount Laurel. So congrats to the gang. Check them out. West Deptford, 1450 Clemens Bridge Road in Deptford, New Jersey. Open 7 days a week. You can shop online or you can go right up to the store. All right. So a lot of baseball thoughts. Getting some good comments coming in, some Facebook comments as well. You know, the Yankees fan, you guys are just scoring. I'm a Yankees fan. And again, I get it. You were not going to outbid Steve Cohen. You just weren't, period. You just weren't. So just, you got the cut, it's bleeding, you want to clean it up, it'll hurt for 24 hours, and then all of a sudden, you move the frig on. Week 14, good, bad, the ugly, coming up on the other side. We'll take you up to 6 straight up on a Monday edition of The Drive with Q right here on SR 1029 FM, the game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right, 5-ish. About 5 past 5 o'clock hour, 727-856-6650. That'll get you involved. 727-858-6650. All right, let's get into some of the comments, see what you guys are thinking baseball-wise, NFL-wise, good, the bad, and the ugly. We will dive into it. How soon before Neighbors wants out? That's a toot from the 914. Yeah, by the way, I'm so over Malik Neighbors already. It's utterly ridiculous. Let me get into the Giants for one moment, because this is what happens. So yesterday, and listen, I told you guys this the other day. The Giants are a bad team. They're not going to win another game. You maybe make an argument they have an opportunity, maybe, when they play Atlanta, because Captain Kirk's about to get benched for Penix. Okay? But here's the thing. When you have a player like Malik Neighbors, and you have a diva like him, you know what you're dealing with. And the problem is this. He's a very good player, but he's not great. And he's a rookie. And he's a young player. And now he's coming out and he's making these comments. And this is not, the old man yelling on the porch. This is not that kind of nonsense at all. What I'm saying is that he's a good player. He's dropped some passes. You and I have both known that. We've seen it. He's been concussed. He's been a little banged up. But he's also a rookie, and he doesn't understand the history, and he's not a respectful player in the fashion that he doesn't get the history of the New York Giants. So when these clown reporters and these beat guys, and I know some of them, and it's like, stop already talking about a plane flying over Giant Stadium, MetLife, and all this other stuff, fix the mess. We've gone through that. We get it. And he sits there and goes, well, I didn't pay for the plane. That's going to be fodder. We know that, right? So the problem is, you're starting to get that mini Odell Beckham, and that's going to be a problem. And I told you this. You go winless at home, you don't win a divisional game, you're selling tickets for $1 on StubHub, people are leaving the stadium at halftime. That's when owners fire GMs and coaches. 727-858-6650. All right, let's keep it rolling with the comments. Again, you got Soto, you got the Yanks, you got the Mets, you got the NFL. We'll see what you guys have to say on that. A lot of NFL to get into, and I'm seeing some guys right now on Facebook chiming in. Joe D in Philly chiming in. Q, I agree. I think there's an issue with the Eagles' offense. I was shocked. They were actually about to lose that game to Carolina. They got bad out because Bryce Young couldn't hit a wide open target. Yeah, but that receiver dropped the ball yesterday. Let's not mistake it. That receiver dropped the ball. I mean, that was a great, great throw. Soto seems to not mind riding the 7 train to Steve Cohen's Queens as long as the money's right. That's great. Appreciate you tuning in, brother. No, listen, you're going to get outbid. I mean, why is everyone so bent out of shape about this? And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Soto's going to go off next year. I'm not. Obviously, it's a different lineup. You don't have the benefit of Judge in the lineup. You don't. But he's a great player. He's a great player. But let's not act like he was with the Yankees for a decade. Stop. He had a great season, arguably his best season as a pro, and he's still relatively young. 41 home runs, drove in over 100, right? I think right around 286. Solid postseason, we know that. Again, it's just, you guys got to move on with certain things. 727-858-6650. 727-858-6650. That'll get involved on a Monday. I'm getting back to a couple of these comments on the NFL. So again, a couple other things that we learned. The Bills stubbing their toe. It's okay. Kansas City just skating by. It's okay. Minnesota going about their business, right? I mean, we've got 5 or 6 really good teams. But as you guys already pointed out, and you guys are already commenting in, and we'll start to rip through them, the NFL is a week-to-week proposition. That's all it is. It's a week-to-week proposition, and what we've come to realize and what we've come to notice is that sometimes you're going to have an off day. Eagles did not look like juggernauts. Kansas City didn't look like juggernauts. Buffalo certainly got to run for their money against the Rams. It's the NFL. It happened. Shouldn't be in panic mode. I think there's some issues. I mean, if you're the Eagles, I would not. Why don't you just slant teams to death with AJ Brown and Smith, and you can run the football with Saquon? I mean, Jalen Hurts is not. He didn't put up gaudy numbers yesterday. Bryce Young was making plays, and then we saw what happened late in the game with a couple of those fourth down plays and lack of conversions. And again, that's a young team trying to grow, a young team trying to figure it out, and they'll learn. They will learn. 727-858-6650. All right, Angel, let's pull up some of these comments, see what the listeners are saying. We'll rip through some of these. I'll give you some thoughts as well. GPG, Gas Pump Guy, what's up, Q? Finally got a chance to check back in and listen to the show. Have a great day, man. Appreciate that. And Tampa Bay, huh? You'll stop or you'll step on someone's head when they're drowning at the blackjack table. Oh, but no, I'm not. Whose head? I'm not stepping on anyone's head today. Not at all. If Soto, all right, let's read this off and get a comment. If Soto is worth $765 million, Clemente back in the day was worth at least $1 billion. Soto, how long does it take before he goes on the DL in 2025? We go on 34 and a half games. Now, see, we're comparing, pull that comment back up there. That's the classic example. And I love Joey B. That's a classic example of the old school fan, the old man on the porch, right? You can't compare players from the 60s and 70s to today's players. You just can't. And I remember years ago, I still have the Sports Illustrated. I think it was 1988. It was like the highest paid players in baseball. There was a list. Mike Schmidt was first, making $1 million or $2 million. These guys make that, putting chew in their mouth. In a second, they make a couple $1 million. You can't compare these guys. Listen, Clemente was Clemente. Roberto Clemente, an all-time great, right? If Soto's worth 765, well, that's the same one we just read off. So yeah, listen, it doesn't matter what he's worth. It's what he got paid. Right? So if you want to equate it by that's exactly what the Mets think of him, then that's what they think of him. And by definition, then yeah, that's what he's worth. But does that mean that Soto's going to go out and hit 333, driving a $135, slug 52 home runs, and lead the Mets to 100 plus victories and a deep run in the playoffs and win the World Series or win the NL MVP or the World Series MVP? If he does, then guess what? He was worth every cent. I don't know if the Mets or the mess will somehow ruin him. I don't. The Mets have had issues. Yeah. 2009. 2009. There's no justice. There's no justice. Sheffield, one of those players. There is no justice in that. I feel like these are coming across the scroll, the ticker. Everyone is beatable, meaning in the NFL. They are. All right, Angel, you got to give me pause. I got to take a breath here. We got to figure out a nice system on how slow and how fast we got to read these comments off. I don't want to keep going all over the place with these, but yes, there are beatable teams in the NFL. And as far as the baseball, without losing track and staying on topic, this is where you're at. So you can't compare players from 30, 40 years ago. It's just not fair. And we're talking dollars and cents. And Stevie Cohen has a lot of money. He's got deep pockets. And if George Steinbrenner was alive, he'd probably fire everyone because they got outbid by the little Mets. It happens, man. But the little brother won one. So you're playing on the blacktop. You're playing on the garage. You bust him up for 15 years. He starts lifting weights. He puts on a little muscle. The braces come off, right? He grows a couple inches, and all of a sudden he takes it to you. You can't cry about it. You just can't. You can't. The Yankees will be a good team. They're not going to be as great as they were with Soto. But again, the one thing we've noticed about the Yankees, they are feast or famine when it comes to their offense. Right? We know that. Kevin in North Jersey chiming in. Q, diehard Yankees fan. I'm not really scorned today. I'm not really pissed off. I'm not really bitter. As you said, maybe the weight of the world's off the New York Yankees. Maybe they know something we don't. I think that's a monster contract, and I'm not entirely sold yet on Sosa's body of work. I think you meant Soto body of work. But yes, to your point, Kevin, and I appreciate you listening in. Look, he had Soto burst on the scene with Washington. Then we forget San Diego, and the Padres were such an underachieving team. And then he goes to the Yankees and he puts up big numbers, and we know what he did in the postseason. And then, of course, in the World Series. That's why he's getting paid. Period. That is why he's getting paid. It's the body of work in the short term and to do it with the pinstripes. Now the pressure's on him to do it with the Mets. When you have that type of money invested in a player, that's when, like, all of a sudden you start off the season in April and you're 1 of 16 with 13 strikeouts. Trust me, you're going to hear it from the Met fan. You're going to hear it from the Met faithful. You start squeezing the bat a little tighter. And you got to figure out, all right, hold on a second. Let me figure this out. I don't want to get too amped up. I don't want to put too pressure. And a couple people were saying there was an incident. I think Heyman brought this up, where Soto's family came up to one of the games, and I don't know if they had a run-in with someone with the Yankees or the Yankee. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to assume. I want to kind of be accurate with this. I'm not going to sit there and say it rubbed them the wrong way. I mean, look, he said growing up as a kid, he was a diehard Yankees fan. That's why it sticks in everyone's craw today when he's a kid in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. I want to be with the Yankees. I want to be with the Yankees. I want to lead the Yankees. And then he turns around and he takes all this money. You going to blame him? I'm not. All right, let's get into some football, as I alluded to. The good, the bad, of the ugly in Week 14 in the NFL. Obviously, you start with Thursday night. That was a hell of a win for the Detroit Lions, 34-31 over the Green Bay Packers. A big, big win for Detroit. We'll get to your comments in a minute. Hang tight, guys. Jacksonville did the Giants a favor by winning yesterday, 10-6 over the Titans. Titans had an opportunity to win that game late. They couldn't get anything in the end zone. We told you we love Miami first half money line. We got bailed out by a 57-yard field goal, so we cashed in on that. The Jets are done. We don't know what's going to go on with Rodgers. I don't care if he turned back the clock for a moment yesterday. That's a bad football team, and Miami still is breathing a little bit. They're breathing a little bit. Here's the good yesterday. Sam Darnold. I thought Sam Darnold, I don't know. People are not sold on Sam Darnold. I'm sold on slinging Sammy Darnold. Now, what's going to be interesting is, obviously, you got a backup in a veteran in Daniel Jones. You got J.J. McCarthy. I hear talking heads saying they shouldn't pay Sam Darnold. Why? Because you guys believe it's a one-hit wonder? Tampa thought that same thing with Baker Mayfield. And sometimes you get the good Baker and the bad Baker. But so far, it's been pretty good investment. Sam Darnold has 26, 27 touchdowns. I think 9 or 10 picks. He's played exceptionally well. Maybe you guys don't believe in Darnold. Maybe you think he's going to kind of revert back to, the Darnold that was seeing ghost in New York. I don't think that's the case. I'm not going to tell you that Minnesota is going to be a juggernaut, but they got some pretty good offensive weapons and they can play defense. And we saw what they were able to do yesterday. I mean, Minnesota just laid it on Atlanta, 42-21. I mentioned the Saints and the Giants. Carr looks like he's going to be out for the season. Drew Lock can't play. He stinks. The Giants right now sit second. The Raiders would pick first, and the Giants in Jacksonville. If the draft were to occur today, I don't know the direction the Giants are going to go, but I can tell you this, 11 points at home, 0-7, not cutting it. Neighbors, not cutting it. Special teams, the gaffes, not cutting it. It just continues to get ugly for the Giants. The Eagles, 22-16 over Carolina. You guys mentioned it on Friday. We all thought Carolina was going to hang in a little bit, and then Philly was going to try to pull away in the second half. We talked a little bit about those first and second half money lines and those bets. Bryce Young, for everyone, and I was one of them that said Bryce Young was going to be a bust. I got to say this, that was the owner's pick. That was their move. And ownership, obviously, they see something in Bryce Young. You've got a young head coach. He's going to get some time to build that organization and to build that roster up. They got some young receivers. You mix in Thielen, the veteran. They got some good defensive players. The Eagles historically come out very slow out of the gate. Again, we saw it. They finally wake up in the second quarter. Eagles are an 11-2 team. They're 5-1 at home. Saquon didn't put up the monster numbers. It was a quiet $124. Hurts missed some throws, held on to the ball a little too much. Brown and Smith, they have to get into that offense a little more. But the Eagles did what they had to do. They figured out a way to win the game late. Steelers, easy win over Cleveland. That game wasn't even competitive. Tampa Bay, again, the good to bad Baker. He's going to throw a couple bad picks, and he's going to throw 2 or 3 touchdowns. They rout the Raiders 28-17. One of the games that I played that I gave you 2 bad picks back-to-back, Arizona against Seattle. Arizona's playoff chances took a major hit. Seattle is trying to actually now ascend up the playoff ranks, right? I mean, think about this. If you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, right now, I mean, you're 8-5. And they rebounded from the loss to the Bills, the loss to the Rams, and then they ripped off 4 straight. They got the Packers, the Vikings, the Bears, the Rams coming up. If they win 3 out of 4, they've earned their way into the playoffs. Now, I don't know if you want to see that team in the playoffs with Geno Smith. We know he's hit or miss. But as a wild card potential game, you got to go in Seattle. That's going to be a tough spot. The Bills and the Rams is a game I wanted to talk about for a moment. Because even when the Rams were trying to run away from Buffalo, Buffalo's got Josh Allen. They were always going to be in this game. And again, you're fighting, you're scratching tooth and nail. It's like, even if you're down 17, you cut it to 10, the Rams are going to start tightening up. I mean, that's a back and forth type of game. That's a 37-21 game. The Bills don't panic. They go right down the field. They score. They force a Rams punt. They score a touchdown. The Rams come back, and then the Bills come back 44-42, and then obviously the last play late to punt. But here's the play that everyone's talking about. This is a 44-35 game. 44-35 game. And the Bills just methodically go right down the field. They go right down the field, and they got 3 timeouts left, and they try to run the tush push. And then, again, you don't get in, and now you've got to burn a timeout. McDermott's got to burn a timeout. Did not understand situational football. I have no idea why you just don't throw it in the end zone there. But that probably burned them 25, 30-something odd seconds where you get the ball back, and all you need is a field goal to win the game. And you have to sell out on that punt as well. But I thought McDermott did a horrible job, an absolutely horrible job. He has these lapses in these games. I just don't understand it. And Josh Allen's the MVP. I don't want to hear this nonsense. Josh Allen's not the MVP because of that loss. Josh Allen is the MVP. Stop already. I would tell the Giants, trade that number 1 draft pick if you get it for Josh Allen. He's just been absolutely incredible. He's got 9 touchdowns on the ground, 23 in the air, 33 total. He's only turned the ball over 5 times. And he's basically willing the Bills into the playoffs. Bills have maybe 1 really good receiver. 1 really good receiver in Shakir. They have decent ground game, but other than that, no one else is standing out. It's all Josh Allen. All the time. He's he's just having a fantastic season. He's a brilliant player. But McDermott lost them that game. That game wasn't on Josh Allen. I heard someone this morning say that game's on Josh Allen. What are we doing? You watching the same game? The 49ers waking up. I told you, I didn't think the Bears were going to win another game going forward. They didn't even show up. You almost feel bad for Caleb Williams. 13 points. There was a point where the 49ers outgained them like 284-4. It was embarrassing. And then you had the game last night, Chiefs over the Chargers, 19-17. I love the Chargers in that spot. I really did. But Hall of Fame players, great players, make plays late. And that's exactly what Patrick Mahomes did. It's exactly what Mahomes did. You're trying to get these guys off the field. Any other team, we're going to try to run the football. Right? Because we're trying not to lose. But what do the Kansas City Chiefs do? 1st and 10, here we go. No panic, 3 yards, 2nd and 8, here we go. Incomplete, 3rd and 8, let me scramble. Big time play, Patrick Mahomes, 1st and 10 from the 46, 7 yards to who? The safety Val Kelsey. 2nd and 3, here we go. 5 yards to who? Smith-Schuster. 1st and 10, 2nd and 10. I mean, he just figures out a way to just lull you to sleep. And then he has the big conversion late. And what does he do? He kind of shakes the defender and then he finds the safety valve, Kelsey. That's what the great players do. They figure out a way to make a play late. 727-858-6650. All right, let's get back to some of your comments as well. A lot of NFL comments rolling through. We'll see what you guys have to say. 727-858. You still think the Bucs are fake? What do you take on them? What's your take on them? It's not, I never thought they were fake. I was not sold on Tampa Bay like a lot of you guys were. And I get it. We got a listening audience down there, Southwest Florida, Tampa. Understood. You're going to back the Bucs. They're 7-6 right now in a bad division. Okay? And let's be honest. They beat the Giants, they beat the Panthers, and they beat the Raiders. I mean, I can't. Baker is such an enigma, man. He really is, because I like Baker Mayfield. But Baker Mayfield will have that game where, is it going to be 4 touchdowns and no picks? Or is it going to be 3 touchdowns and 2 picks? I mean, he's thrown 5 picks in the last 2 weeks. And you guys are lucky you beat Carolina. And the Raiders are just a bad football team. I don't see Tampa Bay, if they were to get into the playoffs, I really don't see Tampa Bay being a team that can go far. I don't. And right now, what are they sitting at, the 4 seed? Detroit's number 1, the Eagles are 2, Seattle's 3, Tampa's 4, Minnesota's 5, Green Bay 6, and the Commanders would be at the 17. So I like Baker Mayfield. I do. But I just don't think Tampa Bay, I mean, last year, you caught the Eagles at the right time. 10-1, dropped 6-7. Then they went on the road, didn't show up. 727-858-6650. 11 points. Freaking Giants. I can't do it anymore, Q. I can't do it. I need to buy a Buccaneers hoodie. Hey, listen, that's your choice. 11 points. Did anyone actually think they were going to move the ball? I mean, the under was the play yesterday. And I think, if memory serves me correct, Joey was very confident, borderline arrogant on Friday and said, ML, moneyline, Giants. They're bad. They're so, it pains me that they lose every week. It does. Like we joke, Sundays, nice weather, go fishing, a little hot toddy, enjoy yourself. I don't want to deal with this nonsense anymore. It's garbage. It's painful to watch. Even yesterday when I was watching, because it was just a nasty day to go out, it's borderline comical. It really is. You're talking about a team that's celebrating their rich history, 100 years. 100 years of Giants football. And what do they give you? I mean, think about this. The Giants have lost 8 in a row. 8 in a row. I mean, I remember, vaguely, 83, Parcells is about to get rid of them. 84, they come on. Sims throws for 4,000. They make the playoffs. 81, they made the playoffs. They beat the Cowboys the last game of the season. And then they beat the Eagles on the road. Then you had the lull of 82, 83, and Parcells was pretty much like, let's keep benching Sims. Here's the injury, Scott Porter. Then 85, wild card, you beat the 49ers, you lose to the Bears. You put it together in 86, you go 14-2. You only lose to Seattle early and the Cowboys. You rip through the playoffs. I mean, the 86 Giants were one of the greatest teams of all time. I mean, you turn around, you beat the 49ers 49-3, you knock out Montana, and then you blank the Washington, at that time, the Redskins 17-0 in the win. And then you blow out the Denver Broncos 39-20 in the Super Bowl. Then you have the strike in 87. Then you have the Al Toon game in 88. Then you have freaking Flipper Anderson in 89. Then you win it again in 90. Then you had a lull. And then the 2000s, right? You make the moves. Collins, Warner, Eli, 2 Super Bowls. But you also don't retread all these coaches. And that's the problem. I keep bringing in my guys, and they're bringing in their guys, and they're not right fit. It's embarrassing. And it pains me to actually have to root subconsciously for this team to lose because I want better draft position. Because at this point, is it going to do me any good? Is my Sunday going to be more enjoyable if the Giants win 2-3 more games and they finish 5-12? No, go 2-15. You have to. It's a bitter pill to swallow. And it's worse when you see what Saquon Barkley's doing with the Philadelphia Eagles and putting up those numbers, which he wasn't going to do with the Giants. And it's worse when you see the Washington Commanders with a young quarterback and a good head coach. And it's worse when you see these other teams who have been bad start to figure it out. That's just where we're at. So 11 points, sorry, get used to it because it's a bad team right now. It's a bad franchise. 727-858-6650. Yeah. Tear it up. Oh, suck it up. Tear off the Band-Aid. Nah, I mean, listen, reverse. Do what you need to do. McDermott, I don't think he's on a short leash. I don't. I thought McDermott was on the hot seat coming into the season. I did. But Josh Allen's bailing them out. McDermott, if he cost them a game in the playoffs because of what we have seen in the past, then you're right. Maybe he is out. But the Bills have played really well this year. They really have. And I think if you have an MVP, they got to beat Kansas City and they have to beat Baltimore in the playoffs. That's it. They really do. If they don't, then maybe they go in a different direction. I don't know. I mean, they're 10-3 right now. They're a real good football team. They stubbed their toe yesterday against a Rams team that was very desperate. Giants, Raiders, Bears, who has it worse as a fan of these teams? I'd throw the Jets in there as well. The Raiders are going to blow it up too. The Raiders are going to blow it up. Antonio Pierce is done. They're going to have to draft a quarterback. Maybe, listen, if they get the first pick, maybe they draft Sanders. Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe Brady tries to coax Belichick, stay away from Carolina and come back, North Carolina, and come back to the pro game. Jets are bad. The Bears, it's because of the ownership group, and they kept the GM, which was a mistake. And by the way, those three teams that you mentioned, those are storied franchises, the Giants, the Raiders, and the Bears. They just haven't had a lot of luck over the last several years. They really haven't. 727-858-6650. C-Team provides fresh coffee always. Do we have confirmation for that? Oh, I left the job just to tune into the show. Told my boss did. I hope you updated that resume. That is a boss move. That is definitely a boss move. When is there going to be $1 billion contract? That's Trevor chiming in. $1 billion contract. Wow. Yeah, that's exactly it. Uncle Stevie has the piggy bank. $1 billion contract. You know where it would happen? I would say I can see something like that maybe with soccer. You know, with boxing, when they do the purse bids, $600, $700, $800 million, you know, the Saudis, that's why, you know, the live tour. I mean, can we see one day, God forgetting that, can we see one day a fighter for a purse? Or, you know, the fight over there? Can we see like a Messi-ish type of player in soccer get that type of money? It's a substantial amount. Used to be a Jets fan, became a Patriots fan. So my dad hates me now. Thought I'd see less heartache, but nope. Yeah, that's a tough switch. The Jets are bad. Jets and the Giants are going through one of the worst seasons in franchise history, respectively. What level of success do the Mets have to achieve to get a return on investment on Soto? I just said it. If this team, if they win the NL East and make a deep run into the playoffs, and let's just say Soto has kind of a, who was the player years ago that had that great playoff run and then he cashed in? Oh, man. And the Mets actually signed him. Oh, my God. Oh, Beltran. Remember Beltran went off on the Astros, had that great run, right? And then inked that money with the Mets. If Soto has a type of run that we just saw, if Soto has a type of run that, say, Stanton had in the playoffs, but the money that Soto is being paid right now, and if they win 90-plus games, win the NL East, and go to the NLCS, and maybe lose to the Dodgers in 7 games, if he does everything he could, then you say, okay, they'll make another move and they'll be right there. I don't think they're as good as the Dodgers, but again, this is all, you know, down the road. I don't know if he bats 113 in the NLCS and the Mets struggle or they don't make the playoffs. Everyone's going to look to Soto, right? Because now he's kind of the engine. He's kind of the catalyst with that offense. And I gave you the lineup. It's going to be real good. How many lap dances? Oh, wow. I mean, I can. I mean, I don't know if that's. I don't know if those would be tax deductions. And if so, where do you itemize that? What line do you put that on? Ayuka. Other? You put it on other? You itemize it on other? Like right under dependents, you put the zero on the slash, right? Can you imagine showing that to your accountant? I'm trying to think about that. What do you think? She's been a little ornery all day, by the way. Kiki's a little ornery because they didn't sign Soto. And she had to endure the Giants yesterday, and she was not having it. Is it on Allen for not taking over and calling a pass at the line of scrimmage? No. Because they actually ran the tush push the prior series and scored. It's situational football, man. You don't run a quarterback sneak or a running play there, knowing that you have to burn timeouts. You just don't. And that's on the head coach. And by the way, have we not seen that already in the NFL with some of these calls? Wow. Now, hold on a second. Did Madman do the math on that? 13 and 95. I don't believe that. That was 2016. So 2016, they went 11 and 6. Then they went 3 and 13, 5 and 11. That's 8. That's 21. Then they went 4 and 12 is 25. Then they won 6 and 10. That's 31. And then they won 4 and 13. What did he say the record was? I have a feeling see, that's just nonsense. I should know better than that. See, that's trolling right there. 13 wins. Get the hell out of here. They won friggin' 9 the other 2 seasons ago. You know what, Angel? You know what to do with him. It's a 5-minute block. Put it on the board. 727-858-6650. I'm over here counting up, thinking to myself, wait a second, I can rip off every season since 82, and I got to count out victories because he says 13 and 95. That's not the curse. What do the Giants have to do to break the... Oh, see, again, Trevor, it's not about that. First of all, Eli did everything... Again, he did everything he had to do in that game. Threw for close to 300. You had the BS Favre, Rodgers, Hail Mary. I think Driver pushed off. And Shepard, Cruz, Beckham, they dropped a lot of passes. They're a bad franchise right now. They're just really bad. The Jets are bad. Washington was bad for so many years. Cleveland, bad for so many years. And, a couple little spurts here. The Jets, bad for so many years. E in Philly chiming in. Q, how many coaches do you think are going to be gone at the end of the season in the NFL? Always enjoying the show. Just sub to the channel. Appreciate that, brother. What did we say last week? 7? 8? Right? Are we adding any more? Let's see. No McDermott. I think McDermott's he'll be all right. Oh, Mayo's out in New England. The Jets need a new head coach. There's 2. I'll give you how about Cincinnati? You think Cincinnati might turn around and say, it's just not working out with Joe Burrow's doing everything he can. They're wasting Joe Burrow's career. So there's 3 right there. I think Stefanski will be okay in Cleveland. But again, we never know. Jacksonville, still, we don't know what's going to go on with Doug. Raiders are going to get rid of Antonio Pierce. There's 4. I think the Giants still get rid of Dable. Who knows what Dallas is going to do? Let's just say 5, 6 right there. Chicago, 7. The Saints, 8. Yeah, 8. That's a lot of turnover. And to think about this, and who still can't get a job? Or who was turned down, or no one gave him the time, is Belichick.
Yep.
right? I mean, listen, I don't think Belichick is going to take the North Carolina job.
Even if they offered him the front office and the whole 9 yards?
Well, so you have to, it's a very good question. You have to think like this. How much do you think Carolina would be able to pay? How much do you think? So the highest paid coach right now in college football, salary wise, isn't it Kirby Smart?
I believe so.
I think he's making what, 13, 14 a year? I mean, Belichick blows his nose with that type of money. And is it possible because maybe he's dating a younger girl, he's loosened up a little more? And he doesn't take things as serious. And maybe to him, this can be like, I don't want to say a hobby, but this is kind of his easy, transition, a little more laid back, still got to recruit, but I'll get the right guys on the coaching staff, maybe a fountain of youth for him, does it for a year or two. See, the reason that if people think Belichick is done coaching in the NFL, they're sadly mistaken. Bill Belichick has made it known. He makes no secret about this. He wants to break Shula's record. Period. I'm not even going to read some of these comments.
I guess some guy said the Bucs may be looking for a coach also, which is true. I don't have that much faith in Todd Bowles.
Yeah. When Angel Small. Snoop Dogg Bowl, Arizona Bowl, and Tucson players get paid individually through NIL. Schools get paid a fee of $3 each. I don't have a problem with players getting paid. I don't. Angel, why is your window so small today? I feel like you're smaller than usual.
It's your show. I do stuff behind the scenes, so I just come up and
no. The why now, mask. Hold on a second. You know what? You're a little on edge today.
No,
you're a little bit. No pun intended. Little. Is it because we got our advertisement to the other side, and that takes away from the window?
No, I physically made your window bigger, so when I'm not on screen, there's 3/4 of you, and then a little quarter of me. So it fills in.
That's not what I'm saying. Is I feel, guys, am I missing something? Like, you guys chime in on this. Does Angel appear to be a lot smaller today than in shows past? That's all.
Yeah, it's about the same.
All right. Mini window will get larger than how about this? Broncos country, let's ride. Oh, hey, listen, got to give credit to Bronco Ball, as they like to say. I wonder now if they wanted Russ Wilson. Bo Nix is probably going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's played really, really well. And Peyton, to his credit, he's done a hell of a job, man. He really has. Let me see the Broncos road. Right now, what are they? 8-5, right? They've got the Colts, the Chargers. Hold on. Because I pulled up another screen because I hear you laughing. They've got the Colts, the Chargers, Cincinnati, and Kansas City. Yeah, they might win 10 games, 11 games. Go ahead. Where are we laughing on the comments? Because I heard the chuckle. Feels like I'm sitting 400 levels.
Okay. I get it.
No, I mean, you do appear to be. What is Angel's whereabouts around 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m.? You know what? That's actually a real good question, because there have been a couple times where I have called Angel and it has gone right to voicemail. So I'm just, hey, we don't want to speculate. We don't want to just, we understand that executive producer / the missus is to your right. 727.
It's a lot of work to get stuff done. So when I'm not on the screen or on air, is because I'm handling a lot of stuff in the background, including updating stuff as always to the website. And also it's a lot of stinking.
Hey, I hear you. Kevin in Cumberland County chimes in. Q, what were those World Series odds again? I would venture to guess that the Dodgers are still the clear-cut favorite. Found you guys on the dial, enjoying the show, and also checking you out on YouTube. Thank you. Appreciate it, Kevin. The Dodgers are the favorites still, plus 380. So you bet 10, you win 48 total. The Braves are second. The Mets now with the move for Soto plus 800. The Yankees plus 900. The Phillies at plus 1,000. Baltimore plus 1,100. Houston, then San Diego. And then if you're really feeling, a little spicy, you got the White Sox and the Rockies at plus 40,000. How about that better? That bet 3.4 from Kentucky on the Eagles. And his profit was 400 and something thousand. Part of me actually wanted him to lose for being that dumb to bet $3 million and get that return. Eagles got lucky yesterday. You guys are leaking oil, man.
So yeah, and hence,
yeah, go ahead.
Hence why I keep saying over and over again that I am not like everybody. I'm pretty sure back in Philly today, we're back on the bandwagon. Let's go. It's all. Let's ride. Let's do all this now.
How many games have they won in a row? 9?
9.
When did they get off the bandwagon?
It's 9 in a row, but everybody knows how Nick Sirianni is. There is that one. If it doesn't happen within the next couple of weeks, watch playoff time, and all of a sudden it'll be Nick of old. Am I thoroughly convinced we're going to the Super Bowl? Still a no for me. And I am diehard as I possibly can be, but I'm also a realist because I know how Nick Sirianni is. So the slow starts are killing this team, and they did it once again yesterday with the slow start.
It's like 9 games in a row. Your son has been absent 9 times.
Doesn't matter.
Listen, they're not a juggernaut right now, but they're winning football games. They're 11-2, and if they get home field advantage, you're not going to sit there and say, "Oh, well, you know what? They're a slow starter." I don't know why they're so slow coming out of the gate offensively. I have no answer to it. When you have players, they've got tight ends, they got the best offensive line in football. You got Saquon Barkley, you got Smith, you got AJ Brown, you got Jalen Hurts. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand why this team. I don't understand. I'm getting Hall of Fame questions, by the way.
Wait a minute. Hold on, because I know he put Rookie of the Year. Is Michael talking about 4 more? No,
Colts, Chargers, Cincinnati, Kansas City. That's the last 4 for Denver. They're going to make the playoffs. And if we're talking about Harbaugh right there for Coach of the Year, you got to put Peyton there. Is Eli Manning a first ballot Hall of Famer? Eli's going to get in. Eli's getting in. And I think the problem is people will look at Eli and they will look at the 2 runs and say, what about the other body of work? Hey, man, you had 2 great runs, and you also turn around and you beat Tom Brady, not once, but twice. And oh, by the way, they were 17-0, and you won 2 Super Bowl MVPs. And his numbers when he retired, they were all top 10. Eli will get in. I don't know, to be honest, though, because we always are. We try to be honest and objective. I don't know if Eli's going to get in the first time. I'd have to see, again, how it would shape out. Like, all right, you got a couple of wide receivers, a couple of linemen, other quarterbacks in the mix. I mean, we can go over that when the time comes. There will be some writers that will be very anti-Eli, right? They will be anti-Eli. They will look at Eli Manning and say he had 2 great runs and the defense carried him both times. And again, that's not true. 2007, 2011, you can make a case Eli Manning was the MVP of the NFL. That's how good Eli was. And the playoff run that he had, he was spectacular. So again, he will eventually get in. I've always said this. If you're talking about the history of these sports and you're telling the story, do you tell the story of the NFL and you leave Eli Manning out? You can't do that. Especially the fact that they beat the Patriots. All those quarterbacks are getting in. Rivers is going to get in. Big Ben's getting in. I mean, again, this is what I'm saying on a Monday. I got to start with this. And they know because they say, sorry, FCC, because again, they know right away that we might start dropping some of these Eli should not be first ballot. He's probably not going to be. Bunker Boys are officially kicking you off the bandwagon, Angel. Wow.
No.
Wow. Turn in your Eagles card on the way out. Wow.
I want to see what
yeah.
I want to see what happens in a couple of weeks. I want to see it. I want to see it because I am not convinced. I want to see it. And then
I don't think the Eagles can go on the road and beat the Lions. Other than that, I think the Eagles can go on the road and beat any other team, but I also think the Packers can go on the road and beat the Eagles.
Correct.
I don't think Detroit can. I think the Packers are built to be a team that goes on the road and gives the Eagles fits in the playoffs. Now, if they get home field advantage, then all bets are off. I mean, they should be able to make a run into the Super Bowl. Oh, I like that one from Michael. If you had one regular season game to win. Oh, wait. Do you pick Peyton, Brady, Montana, or Mahomes? One regular season game to win. If it's the playoffs, I go Brady or Montana. Joe Montana was the best quarterback that I ever saw. Tom Brady's right there. Like, I don't have a problem saying 1A, 1B. But there was just something about Montana where he just never, ever, ever got flustered. Mahomes is great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Mahomes, we'll have the conversation in a couple years. Mahomes right now is an all-time great. It's an all-time great. I mean, you can't undo his resume and you can't take away those championships.
Correct.
If they go back to the Super Bowl and win it again, now you're talking back to back to back. Now that's Mount Rushmore. That's I believe he's right there. They're chipping away. Right? You got your 4 or 5. But again, people also forget that, Staubach was a great quarterback. Unitas was a great quarterback. An all-time great. Terry Bradshaw, people say his numbers sucked. Well, he played in the 60s, played in the 70s with Hall of Famers, but Terry Bradshaw, again, Hall of Fame quarterback because what he did in the playoffs, and you win rings, right? Rank those 4. That's tough. So he had what? Brady, Montana, Peyton Manning, and Mahomes. That's a great question. That's a really great question. If you're saying go 80 yards, down 6, 1 timeout, $1:36 to go. Out of those 4, I'm going Montana. I grew up, I saw Montana enough times where he would rip the Giants' hearts out. I remember that game at the Vet. They were down 17 points and he threw 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter against the Eagles. I mean, we saw what he did in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Right? Let's go 80-something odd yards and hit John Taylor in the back of the end zone with what? 30-something seconds left, and you beat Cincinnati. All those quarterbacks are great. I mean, can I be selfish? Can I take all of them? Because they all had something, right? Mahomes with the athleticism, never get phased. Montana was just cold as ice. Brady was that warrior and competitor, and Manning was the leader. You put that all in a pot and stew it up and stir it up. I mean, you have your quintessential quarterback. You have the definition of a true franchise quarterback, a GOAT, a Hall of Fame quarterback. Absolutely. And I don't know, out of these quarterbacks right now that we're seeing in the NFL, are we going to see, that's why you had to enjoy those quarterbacks when they played. Because we're never going to see a run like that again. Look, Justin Herbert's a young guy. Burrow's a young guy. Allen, a young guy. Mahomes is still relatively young. Absolutely. Right? They got a lot of years left. Marino. See how they attack their own. You're allowed to have your opinion, Angel. Don't listen to these. Angel, by the way, did you ever used to watch when no, I just get annoyed watching them. So, did you ever see Marino when he would throw an interception? What he would do?
I'm trying to recall, but I didn't pay too much
He would
attention.
always blame it on the wide receiver
Okay.
because he would always. So Marino always again wanted to turn around and go right. So it's like
Right.
cut in, but that's how he works. Like and it reminds me going back to Friday's show. You want to pick out some dresses? Yeah, go right down the street.
No. Just good.
Name a better group than the New York Sack Exchange. Oh man, you can't. Those guys were so underrated. Klecko, Marty Lyons, Gastineau.
So, all right.
Yeah.
Here's a question. How long do you think it's going to take for the Giants to come back to being the G-men?
By the way, don't forget Salah. Go ahead. If the Giants go, I'll say this in closing, and I do like Cincinnati tonight, by the way, over Dallas. If the Giants go 2-15, 3-14, the Falcons are going to start Penix, so maybe there's a win there. And it actually, they didn't play a lot of players. And at first I was like, are they trying not to win? And then obviously Neighbors was a little banged up, but he still played. A part of me, I was like, it's kind of not sitting right with me because I still think you have to go out and try to win. They're just not good enough. But Angel, when you don't win at home and you're not competitive and you're averaging 13 points and you haven't won a divisional game and then you had the plane go above the stadium. John Mara is seething today. John Mara has been seething again all season. He's been seething for 10 years. But again, this is the bed he chose to make, and he's got to lie in it because they pushed Tom Coughlin out the door. They pushed him out the door.
Right.
Coughlin didn't want to deal with the Beckhams of the world anymore. It was just growing on him. But you're talking about a 2-time Super Bowl winning head coach. And the players, even doing the pod with Brandon Jacobs would always say, Coach Coughlin. They wouldn't say Tom. You got these players right now saying, Dabes. There's no respect. There's no respect. And when you put a roster together of young players, man, sometimes they get very disinterested fast. They're not accustomed to losing. They don't know how to handle it. So they say things. They're not schooled in the art of handling or dealing with the media. So when you have a question be asked or bestowed upon Malik Neighbors about a plane, well, I didn't pay for the plane. It's a joke, right? You say it as a joke, but it doesn't come off like that. You have to know the history of these teams that are drafting you. Hey, stop picking at you. You have to know the teams that are drafting you and the history. Steve Largent. Rice, without a doubt.
Yep.
Rice was out of doubt. I mean, right. Moss, physical freak. Largent, great hands, ran great routes, very underrated, Hall of Famer. It's a shame he never won anything. Their best shot was 83 when they got to the title game when they were in the old AFC West with the Raiders. And then, Owens, very good, right? Owens and, Moss and Owens, pretty much their numbers are almost identical when you look at it. But Jerry Rice, it's not bad. Listen, when you can play with wall-to-wall Hall of Famers, that's not bad. I can't sit there and say Terry Bradshaw was any less of a quarterback because of who he had on defense and offense. I can't say Joe Montana was any less of a quarterback because of some of the great defensive players and the secondary guys. And you had Roger Craig and you had Taylor and you had Rice, and then you had the Solomons of the world, right? You had tight ends. You had great tight ends. Dwight Clark. Marino wasn't any less of a quarterback because he had Duper and Clayton. Just never had a ground game. You give a running back to John Elway, and then what happens? He's winning a couple Super Bowls. Look, you win in the NFL, you have to have a quarterback. You got to have a franchise quarterback, but you have to have the right pieces around him. That's the new NFL. Assemble a roster, build in and out, and go with it. And you have to have the right head coach in place. And now we know, as we close it out, in this NFL, the argument, right,
Yep.
of take the points. You got to take the points. We're past that, man. We're past that. It's an aggressive style of play right now. We want to end the game and win it. We're not trying to win the game. We're trying to end it. That's it. Messi. You kidding me? Messi. Actually, I'll take Pele.
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to go old school,
Yeah.
juggling
It's over.
oranges on the streets of Brazil, can we go with Pele?
Sure.
Right? I believe the greatest soccer player of all time.
Yep. Never
Hands
be
down.
anyone like him.
Actually changed the sport when you think about it. He had the effect that Tiger did on golf, especially late in his career. Older player with the Cosmos, which, by the way, that team was stacked. I have a poster. I have to find it. It's like the 81 or 82. And as we closed out, he was one of the greatest movies of all time. Victory with Sylvester Stallone and Michael Caine. You ever see that movie?
I may have, but I probably didn't pay too much attention to it.
They broke out of the camp during the war. They were the Allies, and they played the Germans in soccer. Pele does the wonderful bicycle kick, and it's in slow motion. I'm so old, I saw Pele. Metal. Whoa. There you go. See that? It's probably when you were getting a gentleman's club for $1.36, right, Joey? No comment? All right. Gotta start wrapping it up. All right. Good stuff with the the comments on this Monday. Wednesday, we'll be back in the saddle, and then we'll do a Football Friday edition. What the frig? Football Friday edition of the Drive with Q. But check us out on Wednesday. You got Jay's shows coming up right now. I know Angel, his screen will be a little bigger as he co-hosts. So we always look forward of that. We are not doing any jokes to close out the show. I see Madman right now trying to get the jokes in, freshen you up. All right, listen, keep it locked in. Check out the guys coming up. Angel Martinez behind the glass. Rich Quinones here. We are powered again, as always, by Coastal Sports Network, SR 1029 FM. The Game, fresh roasted coffee. Played Against Sports. Zen Auto Concepts, the number one detailing shop in all of Florida. Jay and Angel are coming up. Yeah, you might have to, brother. You might have to. Angel, we promise his face will be a little more up close and personal. I do like Cincinnati tonight. BYP tomorrow, back your play. Lloyd and myself will start to look at week 15. We'll recap week 14. Check that out on the YouTube channel. Have a good Sports Monday. Don't forget to follow us on social media. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, buen día.